Hi, my name is Alfred Griffin, and today you'll learn a story of applied technology in orthodontics.
OrthoMarketing.com, 360-degree digital marketing solutions for your practice.
Well, hello everybody out there in podcast land. This is Dean Steinman from Ortho Marketing, and we are back with another podcast for you. And I am super stoked today for our guest. Anybody that is in the orthodontic world has heard of LightForce, and LightForce is a behemoth changing the market and being a disruptor. And I love disruptors. So I have with me Alfred Griffin, the CEO of LightForce, to talk a little bit about change and technology and, and what it's like to be a rebel. So I'm putting you in that category there, Alfred. So hoping you're cool with that.
A rebel, I don't know about that, but thanks, Dean. Great to be on.
My pleasure. That's a positive. So welcome. Thanks so much. I appreciate you joining me. So let's just jump right in. Who is Alfred? Tell me a little bit about who you are. What's your story?
Oh, man. Well, you called me rebel earlier, Dean. So I guess to throw a little bit of cold water on that, I'm an orthodontist, just like my dad and my grandfather. My mom was a dentist. So like within my family, the two other siblings I have, I'm not the rebel. I'm the one that became a dentist.
Okay.
The other ones did other stuff. But I was born and raised in Virginia. Like I said, my parents met in dental school, and growing up, our family vacations were to things like the AAO, because they were a tax write-off, right? They would be like in Bermuda, Orlando, Disney World. I loved AAO because that was like a great time.
Right.
It's a little bit more work now than it used to be growing up, but then wanted to be a little bit different and really wanted to do a DMD and PhD. So I looked at a few different options. Wanted to go, say if I'm going to do something as tough as a dual degree thing, I need to at least be in a city that's a ton of fun. So went down to NUSC, which is a great school in Charleston, South Carolina. Had an awesome time there for 7 years. Then reconfirmed everything I wanted to do was orthodontics. Went up to Harvard for ortho residency to do science, basic science, craniofacial biology, bone cells, and career took a bit of a pivot my first year and ended up getting very excited about 3D printing, software, manufacturing, and it basically, took an obvious concept in orthodontics, which is the value of mass customization, and tried to put it together into a product up here, and it turned into LightForce with the help of very talented people. Engineers, product people, and a lot of folks I think are unique to the Boston area.
Yeah. So we're going to take a little journey back, and I did a little bit of research. So December 2015, all right? Sure. As you call it, the great snows, what you call it, the great snowpocalypse of Boston. So anybody that was in that area, lived in Boston area, probably remember that. So now that you're hunkered down, what was your aha moment? What hit you to say, okay, this is what's needed. This is what I'm going to do?
Well, it wasn't, the aha moment wasn't that the concept makes sense. I mean, I've had countless orthodontists come up and say, we talked about this. Even people have shown me, Dr. David Sarver actually showed me a paper he wrote about this concept like 20 years ago. And again, what we're doing at LightForce is not a brilliant idea. It's brilliant execution. And it also is very dependent on the timing of frontier technologies such as AI, 3D printing, computer vision. All these things that some of them we don't even talk about are linchpins to building a product like this. And you could argue that before that time, before 2015, the technologies just weren't advanced enough to be able to execute on this idea. So I'll put it back to you. When were aligners invented?
Wow, you're throwing me against the wall, but
most people will say 98. That's when Invisalign came out, right?
Okay.
So the truth is actually aligners were invented in 1946 by Dr. Kessling, and it turned into something called the positioner. It turned into TP Orthodontics, still a great company.
Okay.
The problem is that you had to do these little stone models and cut teeth by hand and move them and then take a new impression. And so the concept of aligners is not new. It just wasn't scalable until 3D printing technology caught up.
Okay.
And then Align was the first company to make it scalable. And so I would argue that what we're doing at LightForce is the same thing, is that what we're doing is not a brilliant idea. It's been the idea, the concept of it has existed in the past.
Okay.
It just is now scalable because of the advancement of things like 3D printing and, again, AI, computer vision, machine learning, a lot of stuff that just wasn't sophisticated enough until recently to build and scale a product like this.
So when you had this idea and you realized that there was a way to make it better, how many pieces of this component of the bakery was there? You know, you have a recipe. How many pieces were there versus you had to bring them in and make them?
So I think I lacked a lot of self-awareness in terms of knowing what we didn't know at the time.
Okay.
And we tackled one thing at a time. So there's some material science that needed to happen, and there's some 3D printing technology that we knew needed to happen. I think we got to conviction that those were advanced enough to build a clinically efficacious product. But there was a lot that we didn't know as well that had to advance as well. And some of it we were lucky that it advanced in parallel at the right time, and other stuff we were less lucky and we had to build ourselves. A lot of the algorithms that drive our system are de novo, and took a lot of very smart people to build with advanced degrees. So again, that's one of the reasons I love being in Boston, is that for whatever reason, a lot of those people end up here. That's why you see, like, you know, Boston Dynamics, those robots that scare everybody on Instagram. Like, that's a tough thing to build. That's in Boston.
Right.
A lot of that hard tech, deep tech stuff is built here. So,
I had a lot of guests on my podcast in the past that were orthodontists turned CEO. I've had Adam Schul, Alfred Griffin, I had Brandon Owen, Mikhail Owen. So I always ask them, what made you decide to stop being an orthodontist, focusing on that and focusing on putting your entrepreneur hat on? What was the again, aha moment there where you decided to make that shift in your career?
I think it's not necessarily taking the orthodontist hat off. I know Adam, Brandon, some of these other people, Tom, that you might have had on here. These people, they still practice. They still see patients.
Right.
I'm the same way. I still see patients 3 days a month, and I had to cut down a little bit, but it's just adding another hat. And the reason to do it is to make sure that orthodontists and customers are heard in every conversation at the company.
Okay.
And that really, I wanted to make sure that customer obsession, a focus on orthodontists, is a part of our culture. And I think if you talk to a lot of our customers, that's something that they all know, that we go overboard to make sure is heard, that we're a company that wants to be the best company in the industry at listening to orthodontists. And that every conversation that happens at LightForce is about orthodontists winning. That's not always been the take for a lot of venture-backed companies coming into this space, but we see a big opportunity within the orthodontic industry for a company that puts that as its focus.
Interesting. How do you get this feedback? How do you actually prioritize it? Because some people like to talk, and especially a lot of orthodontists are very opinionated. So if you get 5, 6, 20 different opinions and they all vary, which one are you going? How are you going to prioritize or figure out which one to say, well, I believe in that versus this or that?
We have core values at the company, and for us, it's trust. It's you have to earn it, but then once you earn it, it allows you to move faster. It's passion. That means you're here because you're excited about something. For me, obviously, I'm excited about the teeth. Other people, it's manufacturing or Industry 4.0 or digital manufacturing. And then our third is customer obsession. So that means we're focused on orthodontics. So when you use those core values as a true lens through which to make decisions, then everyone has clarity on how we act as a company. I'll give you an example. There have been times, like very early on when we were at the beta phase, like in 2019, where we came back from AAO 2019 and we had more cases than we could manufacture in a reasonable time frame. I think the lead time on light plans is quite large. And so we reassess where are those core values. How is that going to help us make this decision? We said we need to not take any cases from customers for a period of time. And actually, the people that have sent us cases, we can't get them back to them in a reasonable time. We need to give them, a refund plus a convenience fee to their patients to offset that. Now, obviously, when you run a company, you're responsible. You have a fiduciary responsibility to a board and investors, and so you have to tell them and convince them long-term strategy. This is the best thing for the company, even if it's a short-term hit to your finances. It's the right decision. We're in the business of making long-term decisions for this industry. That's one of the perks of being private is we're not sprinting quarter to quarter quite yet. We're, building for the future, and we're building for the future with those core values front of mind. So I guess that's an example of how we live those core values. We don't just speak them.
Yeah. Let's talk about the future. Where do you see the future? Let's say 2 years from now, 3 years from now, in the orthodontic industry.
Yeah. The future's happening quickly. I mean, you look at the adoption ramp for technologies, like it used to take, it took like 30 years for the refrigerator to get fully adopted. It took like 25 years for the microwave. And then you look at like smartphones, it took like 2 years. Like people just threw the Blackberries away in a year, and now it's all like, Samsung, Apple, whatever, but it's, smartphones. So adoption curves for technology is happening quick. So I think your timeline for the question is appropriate of 3 years. I think that we're going to see, obviously, this is not a bold statement, that orthodontics and dentistry in general is to become digital. And the reason why is because there's value to it.
Right.
We deal with more data in orthodontics than other physicians and dentists deal with in any other industry. I'll give you an example. When you're building a crown for a patient, you're dealing with the adjacent tooth contacts, the opposing dentition, and you're seeing like where's this tooth going to contact, what's the function of the tooth, and where the parafunctional issue is going to be for that one tooth. Right. Orthodontists, we're dealing with the contacts for the entire upper and lower arch. And you can't possibly figure out what those are or anticipate what those are going to be with a mirror and line of sight. So that's why there's a huge value to the digital process. And I think right now, a lot of people are talking about the practices in terms of, what's your percentage of aligners versus braces? Okay, that was like the last 2 decades is how people talk.
Right.
The next 3 years, people are going to talk about what's their percentage of how digital are they? Because the two are completely different.
Right.
For aligners and I know you're good close to Dr. Glazer in braces, traditional braces, you've got 2 different office workflows. Like one, it's like you come in and you get the braces on as quick as you can without really thinking about the end in mind, and you're reactive throughout treatment every 4 to 6 weeks, seeing the patient back. With aligners, you send a scan, you send the records, you think about where you want to go, and then you start with the end in mind. So there's a clinical philosophy that has to change there as well, starting with the end in mind. Now, the same is true with all digital technologies. LightForce is the exact same. You're starting with the end in mind, and you don't need to see the patient back every 4 to 6 weeks because you know where you're going. So you can trust the night ties to work a little bit longer because you know it's taking the teeth in the right direction. That's how you gain efficiency. That's how you improve your practice workflow and improve your per visit economics as well.
People are always afraid of change in anything. What one bit of advice would you give a practice that is still on the, listen, everybody has to adapt, period. I mean, I feel something in my previous podcast, I keep mentioning this over and over again, the great line from Moneyball, adapt or die, and in any industry, in any business. But what one bit of advice would you give somebody that's still afraid to adapt or just won't do it? How, what's one bit of advice you could give to them right now that's going to make a difference in their practice? Well,
I would start with always do the right thing for yourself and your business. Orthodontists, their practice is their livelihood, and they need to feel really comfortable with any change they make. The other thing is I will never technology shame an orthodontist. Okay. But I would also encourage them to be very objective and unemotional about technology and how it can provide value in the form of currency to their practice. And there are 4 forms of currency that I kind of think of. One is time. I think that's the most precious because you can't get more of it.
Right.
2 is money. You need to make economic decisions. 3 is mental energy. And you know what that means when you're going to change a wire, or like 15-minute visit turns into 45-minute visit because of repos or bends, whatever. And then the last one is social capital. That means, like, what is your regional brand in the area? What are you known for at the schools, at the country clubs, whatever it is? Like, what is your brand for your practice?
Okay.
And what is the user experience your patients get? So I think that any technology should check one of those boxes for you, because a lot of times technology is going to cost you more money up front, or there's going to be a change in how you run your business. Something might go up, but something else should go down, or something else should be improved.
Okay.
Money should improve with any new technology. I'm not just talking about LightForce, but also it should save you time. It should make your life easier. There should be some tangible currency to it. And I think orthodontists, we just need to be objective about that in both directions. If a new technology works for us, we should run the experiment. I think it's absolutely, like, we need to be scientists. Run the experiment, determine it, and run a true experiment with a critical number of inputs, so you know what you're getting into. You also don't miss something. But then be objective about what currency you gain, and then if it doesn't make sense, that's okay. You're in the experiment, now you have an opinion. But I would also give it a good shot, and then if it doesn't make sense, do it.
Yeah. But I'm going to put you in a time machine. You're going to go back to 2019 when you first launched at AAO. What are you going to tell yourself? One bit of advice that you're going to give you 4 years ago.
Oh man, how much time would I have? Oh man, if I had, good question. I would have given some product insights. But I would have probably I wouldn't have changed a whole lot.
Really?
I think you have to go through some of those processes, and I think with any change, the cost of indecision is higher than making the wrong decision. And as long as you do that, putting your practice, your customers and your doctors and patients first, then I think you're just going to learn faster, you're going to move quicker. LightForce has moved insanely fast over the last 3.5 years, and I think that's our size, our technology, and our intimate community with our orthodontists and customers has been one of the big reasons. So I wouldn't have changed a whole lot. I would have probably given them some insights that we know today, but I would have probably kept a lot of the same tone. And a lot of things haven't changed, Dean. We've kept a lot of the same core values. We've grown with the community. It's obviously grown quite a bit. And we've always made decisions for the long term, not for the short term. Another example of that is investing in building our own software. I'm so glad we did not decide to work with an off-the-shelf desktop client tool at the time, because now we have one of the most advanced softwares in the space, where it's all on the cloud. There's more functionality than a lot of other existing software. So, and we control it. We built it so we can move faster now. So we moved slow. We went slow so we could go fast later. So again, we're going to continue building for the future like that. But a lot of those approaches I'm glad we took, and we'll probably stay consistent.
That's awesome. So as an innovator and coming up with these ideas like your own software and the platform, can you pinpoint one failure that you had? What did you learn from that?
I think the failure I would mention is what we mentioned earlier, or what I mentioned earlier is an example. We couldn't move quick enough based on demand. So when we initially launched, like back in 2019, we had 3 technicians that were setting up cases and helping with doctors. And today we have around 300, a little over 300. And I would have scaled up a little bit faster, I think, in that early phase.
2 more quick questions for you. Obviously, a very successful business person, CEO. What are 3 habits that you have every day that contribute to your success?
Some people talk about, like, I'm actually, I still consider myself an orthodontist in many ways. A lot of this, CEO answers to that question would be, I wake up, I eat a healthy meal, I do yoga, I stretch, I exercise, and take notes, write a diary all before 6 a.m. I don't do that. So I think it's a very healthy balance of work. I do work quite long hours, but I enjoy it. I'm passionate about it. The second thing is balancing that work with time with family and loved ones. I think that's a really important component of life. You cannot let go of that. If you're not happy at home, you're not going to be happy at work. So, stressing work-life balance and making that a priority. And the other thing is, I do think it's important to take care of yourself, make time for exercise and some, alone time. I got rid of the Apple Watch. I don't do that anymore. I get rid of the notifications. Because you don't get rid of that, then you can't have that focused alone time. And that's where you get to be creative and think about some of the big strategic issues. If you're just getting dinged all day, then you're not going to have time to be creative or think about that stuff.
Look, why don't you look right to the camera and give a quick message to the orthodontic community? What is the state of the orthodontic community right now, and how is LightForce changing the industry?
Yeah, the state of the orthodontic community is we are making a transition to digital. It's an exciting time. In some ways, it feels like the Wild West. I know, because you guys, we hear all these new technologies coming into the space. Uh-huh. I think as orthodontists, we just need to be very scientific, critical, objective about evaluating them, but then embrace what can be, and think not just in terms of what's best for me, my practice. Obviously, that's one of the biggest priorities, but also in terms of what is the modern consumer experience with orthodontists. How can we improve that? And then the other thing is, what is the brand for orthodontists? We provide so much more than straight teeth. And exactly. I guess that's one thing as an orthodontist I would love for us as a profession to do better, is communicate the true value we provide to the world. I remember when I was doing research, basic science research, trying to get funded from NIH, I didn't get funded. And a big reason was because orthodontics is not seen as a public source of morbidity. People don't die from it. Okay, great. But the world has shifted now, where we're caring about mental wellness and health. There are countless studies showing the impact of orthodontics to mental health, particularly in the teen segment. That's where it's a very sensitive time in life. Kids are forming their sense of self in the world, and orthodontics has a big impact in your smile and your confidence. You can you take your smile everywhere you go, into the classroom, into boardrooms. You can buy a Ferrari or a Tesla, but you can't take that with you. There's a huge value to orthodontic treatment that I think the world needs to hear about, and it goes beyond straight teeth. And it's something that orthodontists can uniquely provide that you can't get with what a lot of consumers hear now about orthodontics, which is like Smile Direct Club. And I think those things have hurt our brand a little bit. Mm-hmm. In some ways, I'd like for us to tell the world how we really provide value. And that's going to be a focus for LightForce. We want to be a big part of communicating that value of what orthodontists provide.
Great answer. All right, now the two most important questions. Number one, I just got a text just now that a asteroid is hitting Earth in 3 hours. So, Alfred, you have to go out and quickly put together your last meal. What is it?
Well, I'm in New England, so it would probably be lobster. I would definitely put some turf in there. Would probably have wouldn't be a fillet. It would be like a ribeye. For only got 3 hours to live. And then out with the vegetables, that it would probably double down right there. Probably maybe some mac and cheese. And I have to think harder about the dessert, but there would definitely be dessert involved.
That was my next question. And the most important part is the dessert, the final bite. What are we going for?
So something from Bova's Bakery in the North End in Boston.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Cool. Now, if people show, most people are very familiar with LightForce. If practice wants to get involved, learn a little bit more, get a demo, what's the best way for them to do so?
Yeah, the best way for them to get a demo is visit the website and just give them your email and say you're interested. And another way to do this is call someone who does LightForce. Ask them their opinion. Word of mouth has been our friend, and that's actually how people learn the fastest, by calling friends and learning how to use it, what works well, what are some things I can change about my practice to improve, whether it's money, time, any one of those currencies. I would encourage everybody to learn from their friends, learn from their peers, learn from the company. We provide resources as well. But reach out to rep. And again, every person at LightForce is here to help you. It's very much a partnership mentality than anything else. And so I think hopefully that comes through when you reach out. And we have our big event coming up soon, your LightForce Future, in a couple of weeks. So we're going to do a lot more of that there. But in the meantime, webinars, I'd say visit the webpage and put your email down, and people will reach out.
Perfect. Thanks so much. Yeah. Alfred, I really appreciate you joining us. This was great. I really enjoyed your insight there. Thank you so much, everybody out there in podcast land. Thank you so much for listening. LightForce is great. I have many of my ortho marketing clients are using them. I hear it's incredible things. That's the reason I brought them on, is to educate you guys on this great program and technology. They are changing the industry. Highly recommend you guys to take a look at it if you're not, and adapt your practice, change. It will make a difference. Alfred, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it. Enjoy, be well, and enjoy that lobster.
Thanks so much, Dean.
You're right.
Go ahead.
orthomarketing.com, 360-degree digital marketing solutions for your practice.